morning, everybody. Welcome to the Travis Yarbrough Show. I got a big smile on my face today because I've been waiting for this opportunity for a long time. Today we've got Kane Riggs with 633 Recovery. So happy to have you here today,
Man, it's
brother.
good to be here today, bro. Good to be here.
A major mentor in my life with what he's got going on. We stand for a lot of the same things. Just love God and recovery. We're going to start off a little bit different this morning. I want to start out by we're going to take a small moment of silence for Charlie Kirk and the devastating event that happened yesterday, and also a moment for today is 9/11. And then I'd like Kane just to start us off with prayer. So we'll take about 15 seconds of silence for them, and then we'll get ready for prayer.
Lord, we just love you today, and we just thank you today, Lord, that we can be on here sharing your goodness, the things that you've done in our lives, Lord, and the things that you're wanting to do in our communities and our surrounding areas. Lord, let us be an encouragement to somebody today, Lord, that you're the answer, Lord, that you're the way, the truth, and the life today. And we just want to glorify you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Kane, welcome.
Man,
Glad
good to be
you're
here
today, bro.
Good to be here, man. I always enjoy coming over and hanging out with you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you don't mind, let's start off with just talk about 633, what you're doing over there, what got you in it, what led your heart here.
Well, you know, I tell my guys all the time what got me there is the same thing that got them there. 20 years of drug addiction, bad decisions, and just really screwed up life, you know. Had alcoholic, drug addict, you know, for 20 years. And, you know, it's been Labor Day was I've been clean and sober 17 years Labor Day. I mean, hey, completely clean and sober. Hey, no, nothing, you know. But, you know, for 20 years of my life, I was drug addict and alcoholic, starting when I was a kid. You know, I started drinking and using 11, 12 years old, drinking, smoking marijuana, you know, thinking, hey, that was the thing to be doing. And, you know, the next thing you know, you're hooked. And so it led me down a pretty long, rough road, and I ended up at a recovery ranch. And so, you know, just trying to help people in addiction recovery. And, you know, my wife, I've been married for 30 years, you know, to the same woman. And, you know, I was at the verge of a divorce, losing my business. I'd worked for myself almost my whole life. I was a landscaper, and by trade, and I was just at my wits' end. I tell people, you know, I was about to lose my wife, lose my business, and I'd lost my ever-loving mind. You know, just staying drunk and high, and some things happened with my wife's family. Her mom had attempted suicide, and you know, I tell people I kind of had a spiritual awakening, and when I did. You know, I was headed out to a party on 101 Highway out in Salisaw, and got there, partied all night. You know, me and my wife were about to get divorced. She won't even run around with me. You know, I'm drug her all over the country. She'd stay at home, smoking cigarettes, drinking beer, popping Xanaxes, and I'm out on the town. I like the wildlife. You know, the lights and the bells and the whistles.
Where's the people at?
Yeah. Where's all the people? You know, I mean, and I just couldn't stay at home. I mean, my mom used to tell me it's the devil chasing me. You know, I just couldn't stay still. But, you know, I'm out there at 101 partying all night. And when the next morning I checked my phone, and I had probably 50 or 100 missed calls from her. And when I called her, she was distraught. Her mom had hung herself. And I had to load my stuff up, got my guitar, all my stuff. And I come up here to the hospital at Baptist, and you know, I went in there and seen her mom on that life support machine. She had dog chain marks around her neck, you know, and to see somebody, and I'd lived with them, you know, we was all doing drugs together. We'd lived with them, been in the family 14 years at this time, you know, just to see that. And, you know, when you just see them dog chain marks, that somebody gets so hopeless. And they had her on life support machine, and, you know, I walked out of that hospital, and I can still see the crack in the ground every time I'm looking down. I tell my wife Heather, I said, I'm done. I said, I'm done doing drugs. I said, I hate it. I hate my life. I just hate everything. And little did I know that that was going to be the changing point of my life. And I didn't say, oh man, I should get Jesus. Let's go to church. You know, I just said I hate doing what I'm doing, and I want to do something different. And that began our journey of events happening to bring us to faith. And I mean, not just, I mean, I had a sort of faith, but to make a commitment to God. And, you know, looking back now, a few weeks before all this happened, I was sitting in a bar down there on the 31 highway, and I was sitting at the bar with an old buddy of mine, and I just told him, I said, man, I said, I wish I was somebody else. I mean, I mean, life was good. I mean, I owned my own business. Hey, I traveled. I played music. I was the life of the party on the outside, but dying on the inside. Getting where I couldn't even stand myself. And, you know, I remember sitting at that bar, and I could still see the bar. You know, it had an old cedar countertop with that old thick epoxy on it. You know how they was. Mm-hmm. Just sitting there saying, I wish I was somebody else. You know, a few weeks later, man, I give my life to the Lord, and it says in the Word that He makes us a new creation. And so our words are powerful. That's when I began to figure out that, man, later on, how powerful our words are that we speak over ourselves and over our family and over the events in our life. And you know, so I go home and I clean my house out. I was a drug dealer, pills, powder, weed, everything. You know, we was kind of joking about it earlier, but I had
finding what you could.
Yeah,
anyway.
Triple beams, digital scale. I mean, I was a drug dealer that owned a business. You know, when business wasn't good, the other business was good. And but you know, I cleared all that stuff out, and I told people, you know, I'm done. I'm not selling drugs no more, and I just wanted to pay the man. I said, I'm having a going out of business sale, and I just want to pay the man, you know. And I got all that stuff took care of, and you know, had some events happen with some of the people I was dealing with. It was bad and caused some problems, and there's a whole bunch to get into. We don't have time to tell that story, but you know, that all brought me to that moment where I surrendered. And you know, 5 days before I surrendered to God, my wife had this old Bible, and she carried it around. We was always moving around, living in camping trailers, you know, man,
yes.
living the life, you know, living in old
hotel
rundown houses. But she had this old Bible that her grandma had given her, and she would set it out. Man, I'd get that thing, I'd put it under the couch. I don't know, nobody want to see that, you know. And the way she was raised, that it's okay to sit around the bar twisting the pipe and burning one and talking about God. And man, hey, I couldn't do that, dude. I'm out on that. I'm either in or out. I'm one of them guys, whatever team I'm playing for, that's the team I play for. Absolutely. You know what I mean? I'm in 100%. Same. And so, but you know, I got that old Bible, and I'd sneak off in there and I was reading. She'd come in there catching me reading it, you know, at night. And I'm just crying, you know. And I'd run her out, I'd cuss her out, run her out, you know. And this went on for 5 days. I'm clean and sober for 5 days. And the people I was having problems with, man, I had some things happen, some shootout kind of come out. I was doing the shooting. I called the police, said, I'm fixing to kill somebody. I'm shooting the gun. All the police show up. They got me. I'm in my underwear and my work boots. They've took my guns. I'm at the back of a police car thinking, I'm going to jail. But you know, hey, God has a plan. And so, you know, all the smoke cleared, and had no guy that was a captain of the highway patrol, knew me since I was a kid. He come and de-escalated everything and kind of sent everybody on their way. And I left there, and I was going to the bar to play music. And I'm clean and sober for 5 days. That's the longest I've been clean and sober in a while. You know, I had when I went through treatment when I was about 18. I was I was 33 at this time. I had 43 days clean back when I was 18. You know, mm-hmm. And other than that, it would just be a day or two here and there, maybe, you know. But I had 5 days clean and sober, and, man, I went by this old preacher's house after the laws left and everything, and I knocked on the door, man, and he comes to the door, and I just tell him, man, I need Jesus. And he'd been working on me for years. You know, he'd stop by my job sites and tell me, son, Jesus loves you. He knew me since I was a little boy, you know what I mean? And yes, son, Jesus loves you, and we wish you'd come to church. I said, yeah, I'm going to come one of these days. And I'd see him up there at my work truck, and I'd think, man, I wish he would go the hell on. You know what I mean? But he
Leave me
would just
alone.
wait on me. You know what I mean? I just finally had to go to my truck, and man, he grabbed me and got me down the floor. Him and his wife, they're in their 70s, and prayed for me. And he told me about Romans 10:9. Got his Bible out and says, "Hey, if you believe in your heart and confess with your mouth," and I said, "I do. I want a change in my life." And it just felt like these bricks got lifted off of me. I wish I could tell you everything's been smooth sailing since then, but really for being a Christian wasn't working out for me either. I tried that for a while, and about 9 months into it, I relapsed. I'm going to church and doing all that deal, but man, showing up in the building ain't nothing. And that's all I was doing because there was no discipleship there. And it's hard for people, sometimes in recovery we call them normies, they don't know. And I'm showing up with people and they're at a small church where everybody there was saved, and I mean, nothing like me. And I was hating on it. And, it wasn't working. And Labor Day weekend, as we just passed, I was in Clinton, Arkansas, went down to the chuck wagon races, been doing that for years, and had a spiritual awakening while I was there. Before I left, I'm packing my bags to go. I pull out my little ditty bag. We all carry them little ditty bags
Absolutely.
when we travel around. And I found this, a lot of people don't know about this, but I found this little film canister. It used to be these little black film canisters you carried stuff in. Some people knows about it, but they don't have that anymore. And I look in there, man, there's marijuana in there, found some pills. And, my wife, we've been saved, going to church. Heather, she's like, "You need to throw that away." I'm like, "No, I don't think so." I get down there. What if I get down there and have a headache and need some of these hydros? You know what I'm saying? Had that reservation in my pocket because I was just showing up in a building, man. People was nice to me. They just patting me on the back, "Glad you're here." Taking all my drug addict buddies with me, filling up 2 pews, going by and picking them up after they've been drunk all night, making them go to church with me, But that's not what it is. Showing up at a place is not what it is. And so I was down there, man, and I first night I got there, man, I popped me a couple pills. I'm sitting out by the campfire and playing my guitar, and no party wagon come by. It's a big party, man. If you've never been to the chuck wagon races, it's quite the deal. And old party wagon comes by. My buddies tell me, "Come on, play some music with us." And I'm like, "Man, I just play gospel music now." And they're like, "Okay, do that then." I only know two gospel songs, "Amazing Grace" and "Old Rugged Cross," and I get on the wagon with them. On a hill far away stood an old rugged cross. They all drinking and hoo-ha, you know what I mean? And so it wasn't after them 2 songs, the pain pills kind of kicked in a little bit that I took, and I started playing, "The boys from Oklahoma drove the joints all wrong." You know what I mean? I just
I do.
Immediately reverted back to what I know.
I actually like that song.
Yeah, and I'm like, gosh. And this feeling come over me. This feeling come over me. And I said, "Man, take me back to camp." And they're like, "Oh, it's early." And I said, "You can take me back to camp now." And I get back there, man. I got down in this low trailer, and I'm crying. And I just cried out to God. Well, this was the next night, so I go back and go to my trailer. The next night I try it again. Same thing happens. I'm going to a party, going across this field, and that feeling come over me. I drank some whiskey, smoked some dope. I couldn't get high and I couldn't get drunk. And I go back to my horse trailer. And I'm down on the ground. I'm just crying. I said, "God, either you got to help me. I don't want to be a Christian. I don't like it. I don't like these people. I don't know what to do. But if you'll help me, God, I'll go anywhere and do anything you want me to do." And I tell people I had a spiritual awakening in that trailer. And there's been 17 years since that day. And I got out the next morning. I threw my pills away, and I went home and told my wife I fell off the wagon. And a few weeks later, I got involved with Dwayne Hicks from Courage to Change Ministries, as chaplain at the jail. He began to mentor me. He began to disciple me. He took me in, started taking me to prisons, and sharing my testimony. And man, had some more great guys, Mike Nichols, Dennis Barden, some guys that just come around me, and I started doing prison ministry, and my life began to change. And I was down at the prison. I had a vision, I I come back and I told my wife, I said, yeah, I said, I thought it was little kids. I said, we're going to have this ranch and we're going to have horses and we're going to go camping and we're going to help these kids, you know. And she's like, oh, yeah, that's great. You know, we're about to have our first child. We've been married 14 years, just now having our first kids. And she's not paying any attention, you know. She's getting a new baby. And a few weeks later, I go back to the prison. You know, I'm down there in southern Arkansas, and I'm up speaking, and God said, there's the kids. And he showed me another picture in my head. And I seen this guy, he had tattoos all over his face, and he was like whooped up in a corner getting whooped with a clothes hanger. He said, that's the kids, that's the people that needs it right there. And so I go back and I tell my wife, I said, you know, we're going to be helping people in prison and just like us. And, you know, she wasn't excited about that because, I mean, hey, she's been through it. She was raised in a dope house, sexually abused by a family member. I mean, her whole life had been trauma and drama. And mine hadn't been like that. I was raised a little different. And, you know, she just kind of blew me off about it and goes on about her business. But I was persistent. And I just kept telling people, you know, we're going to have a recovery ranch and we're going to have guys there. And we're going to get people off the streets. We're going to make disciples. We're going to do life together. And, you know, that's been 12, 13 years ago now, I guess. And, you know, I got so much discouragement from the church. People telling me, you better pray about that. Are you sure that, you know, that, I mean, nobody wants to be a part of that because it's so messy.
Facts.
You know, I had a lady tell my wife, said, you're going to have your kids around those people. You know what I mean? And so she's been abused, you know, so automatically trauma triggers go off. And she's crying. She's like, I don't think we're supposed to do this. I said, yeah. I said, this is what God's called us to do. And I said, it's what we're supposed to do. You know, a few days later, you know, the lady said, you know, those people. And I told her, I said, we are those people. I said, do you remember where we come from? We're those people. We're who she's talking about. But we're just dressed up in a little nicer package today. But hey, I'm covered in tattoos. I wear long sleeve shirts most of the time. People don't know. You know, they didn't see me when I had a mohawk and piercings in my ears and my nipples are pierced and my eyes pierced. And my mom's telling me, son, you look like something off a scary movie. You know, they didn't see.
You're like, Mom, I look cool.
Yeah. That's the way I want to look. Hey, I want people to be leery of me when they see me. But they don't see that in the church. I was cleaned up at this time. I had a nice haircut, you know. Used to have hair. I had it all styled back, you know. But I said, that was us she's talking about. And then a few days later, my wife has a spiritual awakening. She come in, she says, I'm ready, whatever we got to do. And so we just began to cast a vision. I was pulling I had a big bull that was broke to ride at that time, weighed about 1,800 pounds. I called my ministry No Bull About Jesus.
Was that the Longhorn?
Yeah. He would ride just like a horse, man. And I got him at a motorcycle party. A guy gave him to me because I told him, I said, I'm going to break this bull.
Can't make that up. The man got a Longhorn at a motorcycle party.
Yeah. I mean, just a crazy deal. And I said, I'm going to break him to ride, and I'm going to ride him up on stage. I'm going to tear the bar up with him. He said, you crazy SOB. He said, if you can do that, I'll give him to you. Little old calf. Guy brings him back to me, and I broke him to ride. He weighed 1,800 pounds. I make him bow down, do tricks, you know what I mean? And I thought I was going to take him to the clubs, man. I was going to, with the big show, the main attraction. Yeah. I'm going to ride in, and I'm going to sing off this bull. Hey, the boys from Oklahoma, hey, I'll do it. You know what I mean? Hey, legend in my own mind. And but God had a different plan. I started going to Bible schools and taking that bull around, riding kids, and you know, just wanting to help people. And I was keeping guys in my storage building at that time. I helped some guys detox. I mean, they're in there, they're sick. We're going to work every day. I'm keeping them out in the storage building. You know, I didn't know anything. All I knew is I wanted to help people. And you know, I'm taking them to church, taking them to meetings, and I got a lawn landscape company, and I began to hire guys that's in recovery, and my whole crew was in recovery. But to work for me, you had to go to meetings, you had to go to church, you had to be working an active recovery program. And so the next thing you know, Green Country Cowboy Church takes us on. They had a little piece of land, and we built a pole barn out there, and you know, we filled it up. we're out there on a little piece of ground. We're gardening, man. I'm country. You might not tell, Travis. I'm kind of cornbread, huh?
Would have never guessed
You know,
it.
I'm a little on the cornbread side, you know, but it's kind of redneck recovery stuff.
I mean, you grew us all watermelons, so I do believe.
Yeah, you know, and so anyway, this cowboy church takes me on, and we get a barn built out there. By this time, keeping 22 guys in a pole barn. I had them stacked like firewood.
What size
in there.
pole barn was it?
A 60 by 60.
It's pretty good size pole barn.
But for you have 22
Well,
guys.
it fills up fast.
Hey, we had 3 toilets and 3 showers with 22 guys. You know, trying to get ready to go somewhere, trying to do anything. The kitchen was just a little bitty kitchen in there.
That reminds me of a few pot experiences.
Yeah, I mean, you know, but I mean we just outgrew it, and guys are calling. You know, that's the beginning of the opioid epidemic was coming on at that time, and people getting so sick on these pain pills, and then the fentanyl come into play, and people's calling, crying, man, saying, "Hey, we need some help, bro." I say, "Well, we're full. Well, if I die, it's gonna be your fault." I'm like, "Bro, man, you can't. No, you need to do something. Well, I want to come out there. Blah blah blah." I said, "I'm full, dude. I got people on the couch. I got people. There's people everywhere. There's no room." And there about 4 or 5 of us working there in this barn, helping guys. We got one little office, and a guy lets me use an office, an old junkyard down the road, old salvage yard. And I began to drive by the place we're at today. And, you know, one of my guys on my board, he said, "Man, that would be a great recovery center." So where we're at today, there's 12 buildings. There's 58,000 square foot of buildings. It's on 44 acres. It's a beautiful place.
It is.
But we went from a barn to this place here. But the way we got there is I would just stop in there and pray every day. I began to thank God for this place. And I would sit up there on the highway, and I would look at this place, and I would pray and say, "God, thank you for this place. God, I want to help people. God, I'll do whatever it takes. I just need to be able to help more people." And, man, it's a whole miracle of us getting in there. I mean, it'd take a while to tell the story, but, you know, it got where I began to drive in there a little farther. And I just claimed this deal, and I said, "Okay, God." And so we made some negotiations. Miracle, we got in there. And, you know, today we're housing about 50 people in recovery. They're all together. We have a men's recovery deal. We're housing about 35 men. We've probably got 10 or 12 in our kind of a sober living deal, after deal. We have ladies there. We have some duplexes there where we have people that's live there. We're helping some families now. Mm-hmm. And
I actually came over the day I was over there. You guys were cleaning all of those out and getting those ready. Yeah, it is a beautiful place, and it's actually perfect for your vision.
Yeah, it is.
God definitely had a plan.
He did, but here's the problem: is funding.
Always.
You know what I mean? So today, at the end of the day, I need $2,300 to come in today. And so it's $16,000 a week, over $800,000 a year to operate. And, you know, I don't get a bunch of grants. I don't get a bunch of federal funding. And a lot of that stuff's getting cut out anyway, man. People that's doing some of this recovery stuff, they're getting worried because they've been on the old government. They've been on the old government train, absolutely. You know. But we work, you know. Like I said, you know, we're growing watermelons. We're entrepreneurs.
And so do you. You're out there working daily with them, you know, and that has to be a struggle. When we talk about money, I want to talk about money for a moment because, you know, I said it in the last one too, you know, a lot of felons are looked at as waste, you know, they don't want to waste it on that, you know, so it is. And Kane does not get no state funding. The only thing that his money comes from is generous people and work. These guys are working every day. While we're talking at it, do you mind giving us, if anyone feels on their heart to help and to give to Kane and 633 Recovery, can you go ahead and let them know your Cash App?
Yeah, you can go 633 Cash App. You can go to our website, 633recovery.com. You know, give us a call. You want to come out and see what we're doing? We'll give you a tour, man. We encourage people to come out and see what they're investing their money in.
Absolutely. So, you know, if you don't feel comfortable sharing your money, and not understanding where it's going, because we understand all the fraud and the things that are happening in this world today. I can promise you, anyone that comes on my show, it's not going to be about that. There's not just anyone's going to come on here. Only the real are going to come on here. Please give. Please do what you can to help. It's very extremely important. And a lot of these guys are our cousins, our sisters, our brothers. And if you have anyone hurting right now that you need help for, feel free to reach out to 633 Recovery in Kane. And let's see if we can't find you a house. If he can't house you, I've got a couple of others as well. And we all work together to try to find a place for everybody.
You know, and one of the things that's out there right now that we've tapped into just a little bit, but it's so hard to get some of that opioid abatement money you're hearing everybody talk about. But man, you got to jump through so many hoops to get that. It's almost the juice ain't worth the squeeze on a lot of it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And with that being said, if anyone comes across and watches the show and sees, hey, I know how to do that, I can do that. Doubt. Please reach out because we need all the help we can get. And I learn every day about recovery, the positive effects. You know, I go to a lot of businesses. About 40% of my business, of my employees in all my businesses are felons. So, you know, I go out and I speak to other businesses and let them know what hiring felons, you know, can do for them. You know, there's a lot of benefits as well, so it's working both ways. You know, if you hire a felon within the first month, I can get you a $5,000 grant, and there's a lot that comes after that. I don't personally do it for that, obviously,
right.
And not every one of them is going to work. You know, honestly, I found out about 2 out of 10, 2 out of 15 actually work. Yeah. But if one work out of a million, we did our part.
Yeah. You know, and that's the thing. You know, we have constantly lots of stuff going on. We're constantly trying to help people. But, you know, I said, when I've done everything I can do, I know that I'm gonna go before God and say, you know what, I give old Joe there every opportunity. I went above and beyond for him. You know, and people tell me, oh, you're crazy for trying to help that guy, because I helped some of them multiple times. Because, I mean, I needed grace and I need mercy, and I still do today. And so that's something I've been learning as my walk with God as I go farther is how important grace and mercy is. Because, you know, in the church world, you know, not the church, us, but in mainstream church, you know, they're the worst to shoot their own wounded. You know what I mean? You do something there, you're disqualified. You can't do anything because you've done something wrong, and everybody's doing something wrong. With our guys, man, we give chance. I mean, we just extend lots of grace and mercy.
It takes chances, you know. We say, hey, 3 times and you're out. Well, 15 times and I still got them out here. Yeah. But you know, I can't tell you how many chances I was given, brother.
Yeah, man.
So many that I did not deserve. I mean, I hurt so many. Yeah. You know, robbing from my parents. You know, I look back and it's really sickening, but it's the disease, man.
Yeah, that's it.
And until you really understand it, you know, until you really understand it, you just don't understand it.
And you're not going to understand it till it knocks on your door, till it's your kid, till it's your mom, your dad, your brother. You know, if you're not affected by it, you're not worrying about it. But you know what? When your kid gets strung out, or your grandkid gets strung out, and you've tried everything and you don't know what to do, and then, hey, we're looking for answers.
Oh, the same people that won't help recovery housing will turn around and spend $100,000 to try to get their kid fixed. Yeah. But then doesn't want to turn around and help. Yeah. Doesn't believe in the recovery centers, but they're the first ones that are going. The people with big money is the first ones that send them to some place down in Florida, which you've went down. You know, not too long ago you went down, which was super crazy. I'm gonna tell a quick story real quick. That's just really, you know, it was really cool for me. Kane went down to Florida several months back, and I used to run with a couple guys. BJ Take, shout out to him. He's doing great now, and Derek Lewis, man, that has just. I'm just beside myself on how well this young man has done. He was one of the worst for years, and was able to get clean, but Kane went down and visited a few recovery centers, and just so happens walks in this recovery center, and somehow my name comes up, and it's Derek Lewis, who now owns a recovery center, an electrical company down there, and is just doing phenomenal. And when you reached out to me and told me that, it was just instant chills, because we're in a country of millions and millions of people, and for us had just gotten connected. I say just gotten connected. I was thinking last night, I was like, man, how long have I known Kane? And we've really been communicating for a few years now. But just it just blew my mind, because that's what happens with God. Braden behind the camera. His grandfather was a huge part of your life.
Oh, one of my mentors, one of my greatest mentors.
We've become extremely close now. And the day when you come in and we're in the conference room and I'm introducing Braden to you and y'all are looking at each other, it's like all these people that have been, it's like everyone that I was super close with back then, on top of where I'm trying to be today and where I'm headed, are bringing all of these people together that are connected.
Yeah.
It's just so wild the way God works.
Yeah.
I mean, people that I know, and then a bunch of people that I don't know. And that's why I just felt God sent from Braden, when meeting him, he was a piece of the puzzle that was already there.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just because he's on that side and we can't see him, he's a huge part of this, and has been a huge part of me wanting to do this. The stories of his grandfather, his mother and his father are strong Christians. Just the love for recovery, with her and her father, did this for years. So this is what she's seen. And now her son is able to be brought in and kind of see the same thing. I almost feel like, hey, maybe God brought us together to carry on his will and what he was working on.
And I tell people I'm doing some of the things I do today because those men like Dennis Pardon come in, put their arm around me. He understood me. You know what I mean? Hey, he was real. And he mentored me. He was a friend to me. He called me, checked on me. He ran a business. He hired felons. Just God brings these people in our life to get us to that next place where he needs us.
Absolutely.
And that's part of the problem in our world today, that nobody wants to mentor anybody because it's messy. We've got lots of business owners out there that could really be pouring into people to help them, but instead, we just decide to keep our head in the sand, not help anybody. And every day when I get up, I know I want to help somebody. We got some T-shirts printed up this week. On the back it says, "Let's help somebody."
Yeah, today.
Let's help somebody, because every night when I go to bed, I'm thinking about how we're going to help somebody, how we're going to house more people, how we're going to get people to come out of the problem, how we're going to get people to come to their faith, and so. It's not something that you can beat people in the head with.
No, but
this faith journey, it takes people like us that's out really walking it out and living it out. At 5:30 yesterday morning, I'm down there doing dishes. You know what I mean? And just loving on these guys, saying, "Look here, I won't ask you to do anything that I won't do." The program I work it. And I'm not telling you, hey, I'll clean toilets, wash dishes. We're going to do this. That's doing it together. You know what I mean?
All of it.
All of it. And so, we just need more men to stand up and say, you know what, I'm going to put somebody under my arm. I'm going to walk it out with them. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to teach you how to start businesses. I'm going to teach you about the business side of business. You got a good hustle in you. Look here, you learn a little bit about business. The sky's the limit. That was me.
Yeah.
I had a lot of hustle and a lot of drive. And when some men of God come around me that were businessmen and begin to coach on me, that's one of the things today that I get to do what I do, is because God's put people around me and I'm coachable and I want to learn. Every day I want to learn something.
And that's a big thing, is we all have to be coachable.
Yeah.
We really do. Well, I want you to know from the bottom of my heart that while you're laying there in bed thinking of how you can help them, there's a few of us out here laying in bed thinking of how we can help you help them. Go. Because that's what I think about is, you guys give up your life for this. People think that everything's done for money. I know how much you've invested out of your own pocket every day. Your money is 633 Ranch. The things you do for your family, the people you do put your children around in faith. I was talking to my therapist yesterday that I see weekly because we all need help.
That's right.
Barry Morton was was really big for me when I first got out that first weekend. My wife's brother, Nathan Nidecker, rest in peace. He was going to Mount Olive in Van Buren. He is well battled with drug addiction, had been through a lot, was working on fixing his life. So me and Lena started going to Mount Olive as well. It was a very small group of people. The second week I was out, Barry invited me to his home, around his children, around his group. And for a couple of years, me and my wife went there every week. And today he's 20 years later, literally, he is, on my top 5, on my one hand of my top favorite people. We still communicate. My wife and his wife are best friends. He's one of my best friends. And we get to spend time together, and it's been great. He's always shot it to me straight. He never tells me what I want to hear. He tells me what's real. And I appreciate that out of him. We all need people like that in our life.
Sure. For sure. And so, but like I said, we just got to hustle. You got something, you got to not quit, and like I said, we're always trying things. We've sold hundreds of watermelons this year. We're selling, raising our knife fundraiser, making the handmade knives. We're working on these belt buckles that we're making because, like I said, we're not on the government tit. We're working for it. Our guys pay a little small program fee to be there that helps. Great support from the community, and we're not going to quit. And so, but I would rather do somebody a service that say, "Hey, man, Travis, can you give me some money, man? Come on now."
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I told you this the other day. I don't know if you remember. I said we were sitting there talking about things, and I said I'd rather you give me an idea than give me money, because
Absolutely.
if you give me money, I'm going to spend it. But if you give me an idea, that could carry me way into the future.
I like to give both.
Yeah, I mean, and you do, but you know what I mean. I'm not. I would rather spend time because you're a thinker and you do all this cool stuff, and so I can bring an idea to you just like I did with the belt buckles, and say, hey man, we're trying to do this or that. What do you think? We've been in here this morning brainstorming ideas on how to make knife handles with some of the product that you have.
Absolutely.
I mean that's what I'm talking about. Is if you give me an idea and you come in, you sit down, and we talk about business things and about ideas, that's going to put me way out there. And you know what? When you give me money, which you do, and you help me, that sustains me for the day. But you know what? You teach a man that you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. But you teach that man to fish, and hey, we're going to be good on out in the front. And so, I think a lot of times people that's doing ministry, whatever you want to call it, we have this mindset that we should just be begging people for money instead of using the creative gifts that God give us, creating business, creating opportunities to be able to fund ourselves.
Absolutely.
Instead of going around,
Absolutely. And God will make that way. People
thinks that I get my money from the churches. We have a very small percentage of churches that give us anything. And people thinks that we got all these churches behind us. But we don't. I met with a pastor here a while back, and he said, and I was complaining. I said, man, we got 177 churches in our county. I can't get no help. He's like, oh, bro, we got problems of our own. Churches got problems, And so we've got, God give us gifts and talents.
Absolutely.
What happens when we use our gifts and talents for the kingdom instead of being memes? That's why we talk about at our place,
He gave us
being
hands
memes.
for a reason.
Yeah, but when we begin to use our gifts and talents for other people and for the kingdom, and we're not stingy, and we're not trying to hoard it up. I was listening to the word this morning where he was talking about the manna. He said they only had manna for the day. So if they tried to hoard it up, it rotted, had maggots in it. You know what I mean? But here we are. We want to be hoarders. And so today I've come to the fact that, you know what? If we make it through the day, we're still in business tomorrow. We're winning.
Absolutely.
And God's not going to let us down.
And we're not supposed to worry about tomorrow.
That's it. But it's hard, when I got up this morning knowing that, hey, we got to have money to
Hey,
operate.
don't worry about tomorrow, but rent is due next
it.
week.
That's it. You know, and I share this story. I'll share it with you. I probably shared it with you before. Last year in September, where I'm out there hoeing watermelons last year at watermelon time, and we come into the month of September, I need $27,000 the first week. I got $900 in the bank. I've got 40 people living there. I've got 19 electric meters, and I'm out hoeing watermelons. And God said, just trust me. Trust me. And man, you have to exercise your faith like that. But hey, as you can see, we're still in business today. By the end of the week, it was there. It was on time.
And how long have you been at the new facility?
Going on 3 years.
So that is, yeah. So, yeah. So it has been about 3 years.
Yeah.
Because when we met, it was just talk.
Yeah, we hadn't
It was
even got the building.
fundraising
Yeah.
to try to get the building.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about these knives for a moment.
Heck yeah.
Here's one of these beautiful knives right here. And if you just see the craftsmanship that comes into this, you've got 633 Ranch here. You've got your serial number on there. They make these in every single style, so many different styles. And these are hands of felons that are, just working to make it, just trying to find, a better life.
Yeah.
And when you buy one of these, that's what you're given to. And these are beautiful. These aren't just, these are some of the nicest knives I've ever seen. You want to talk about them, Eddie?
Yeah, here's how this happened. Those guys was sitting out back of the place by the fire. We got a campfire out there, and the guys are always sitting around doing something. And they've been watching Forged in Fire. And they was out there beating on a hoe head trying to make something out of it, just cutting up. And one of our guys that's on the team member there that works with us, he come by and seen what they was doing. He said, if y'all can get that cut in half, we'll take it down to the shop and sharpen it and put a handle on it. And the next day, they're down there messing around. They went and bought a forge. They pulled their money together and went and bought a forge. And they started making these knives, and that's been about 8 months ago, I guess. And then today, you can see what they're doing.
Are these the first?
Yeah,
knives
those are
in this
those.
pamphlet?
They look like shanks.
So I'm going to show you guys this pamphlet, and there's also a QR code on there that you could zoom in and hit.
Yeah, those knives there was
honestly,
a little crude.
I'm going to read this from Josh Griffin. Is that okay?
Big Josh, yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure who he is. I haven't met him yet, but I will. But I see on here, it says, I'm Josh Griffith. And for me, this knife-making journey is personal. It's a big part of my heart. There's nothing quite like stepping into life as a new creation and then creating something with your hands, something real, something lasting. These knives are more than just steel and handles. They're symbols of transformation, forged by fire, shaped with intention, and born out of recovery. And every blade we make is a way to sow back into the kingdom to help others find purpose, just like we did. And down below is the 2 Corinthians 5:17. Therefore, if anyone in Christ is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has gone, the new has come. There is change, and you can change. I hear a lot, well, they're never going to change. They can't change. I was that. And, now I look back, and there's not a single thing I could do. I couldn't do one little thing harmful to anyone. That's how far I've came. And I've said it before, I believe that recovered addicts, recovered felons who have been through so much in their life, I believe they're such a special person when they become clean. I believe they are the best people because we know not what to do. Yeah. If you've just been doing great your whole life, you don't know what it's like to mess up and be looked down upon. And these guys are being looked down upon.
Oh yeah.
And they're some of the best people you could ever meet. Yeah. Am I saying that they're all perfect? No. Am I saying sometimes you're not going to get them in there that's just looking for a house and a home for a couple weeks until they find a new dealer?
Oh, yeah.
Because we all hit rock bottom. Even when I was hustling, making money every day, there were times when, I bought too many toys. And I used the rest of my dough. And I didn't have the money to pay the man that I already owed. So it took some time.
You bet.
You know what I mean? But I always figured it out. We always make it work. And it's the same thing with recovery. We've got to learn how to figure it out and make it work. Once you get to that point, you don't even see the past anymore, man. You really don't see, you don't feel the hurt. You don't, you know, and speaking of hurt, it's been very difficult for me, but I'm finally learning how to forgive myself. And that's been the biggest step in all of this. It's still difficult for me to do this, understanding what I've done in my past, but I'm understanding it's part of my story and part of my testimony.
That's right.
And I'm still battling with it. I still really do. There's a lot of people out there there's things I've did I really wish I could take back.
Yeah.
Even though we say we have to, forgive ourselves and not have any regrets. Well, I've got them. Yeah. I've still got some that I still battle with. But for the most part, I feel like I'm just, really getting to a point in my life when it's not what I was expecting to happen in my life. But I just want to help people. Yeah. I truly, honestly, just want to help people. Yeah. And not just felons, but that's where my heart is. I've been given to so many different things, and it got really exhausting on me giving to every way, and my, the mentors in my life, we all got together, and they were just like, you're giving way too many different areas. You need to think about what's most important to you. And I said, recovery and God. I mean, God first, and then recovery. I mean, those are the two most important things to me.
And they run hand in hand. They're the same. God's all in recovery.
They do. They do.
That's the cool
without
thing.
God, there's no recovery.
There is no recovery.
So that's what I'm focusing on, and that's what I'm going to continue focusing on. I'm really appreciative to you for putting all your hard work and time and energy in it, because I know it's not easy, Bubba. We can sit up here and smile, but I know it's not. It's just really not easy. And today also as well, I mean, I just wanted to give just a little something for you.
Appreciate it,
just to help. And I know you didn't want me to, because you actually told me not to. But you do need it. Well, and I want to help. Very much so. Before we close, is there anything you'd like to say? Anything you'd like to get out there?
I just want to encourage people that we all got something to bring to the table. You know what I mean? Everybody out there can help somebody. Sometimes somebody just needs a smile. Sometimes they just need a hug. Sometimes they need a cigarette. I mean, as crazy as that sounds, if we got time for a little story, I was at the store the other day getting some gas, and I seen a lady digging through the ashtray. And, I've never smoked cigarettes. I never used tobacco. They say it's harder to quit than cocaine. I don't know. That's just never been my thing. But I go in the store. I'm trying to get in there and trying to get out, and the little lady's in front of me getting her a drink. And I feel like God's wanting me to engage with her, but I tried a little bit, and she just shut me right off. And so I said, I got to get out of here. And so I go pay for my stuff, and I'm walking to my truck, and God said, no, you're going to go back in there, and you're going to talk to her. And I go back in there, and I'm looking, and she's just like she's shopping. She's got her big cup, and it's at the Travel Plaza, and, they got all the Indian stuff and and she's just over there shopping. I said, ma'am, can I speak to you for a minute? She said, sure. She said, what can I do? I said, this is going to sound a little crazy. I said, but God's told me to come back in here and pray for you. I said, I'm not a weirdo. I mean, I am a weirdo, but I'm not. And she said, I said, will that be okay? And she almost broke down and started to cry. And she said, yeah. She said, I can't pay for this drink. She said, I don't have no money. She said, I was digging for cigarettes out there in the ashtray. And I said, hey, man, that's why God sent me. I said, let me pay for your drink, buy you some cigarettes. And most people, they're like, I wouldn't buy nobody no cigarettes. But you know what, man? Sometimes that might be the only thing that's keeping somebody from doing something crazy.
And
so yes. I get her 2-pack. I prayed for her. I bought her some cigs, and man, just told her, hey, God even cares about that.
Absolutely.
Because he knows when we're nervous and we need something.
And they need it too. I got in trouble downtown here in Fort Smith, for giving out cash to all the homeless. And, they came back and they said, you understand that you're coming down here giving cash, and now we got to put up with them the rest of the day. But they was going to find it one way or another.
That's right.
And,
but what about the ones that really needed it?
And
what about the ones that was hungry?
Yeah, exactly. And some of them did get food, but I will be honest, I kept circling around, and there was a lot of 30 packs running around people carrying, people putting their money together, but they need that too.
Yeah,
That's going to get them
mean,
through their day. Do I agree with it? No, I don't agree with it. But also, you know, I gave out from my calling. I did what I felt to be calling. One thing I want to say today too, with everything happening in the world right now, is we've got to love each other.
Yeah.
When people start dying because of their opinions, we've got some major problems in this world.
Yeah.
We don't have to agree with one of another, but we have to love one another,
Yeah.
and that's the only
That's
thing
true.
that's going to fix this country. We've got to start, man. We've just really got to start thinking of others instead of ourselves. And when you start putting God first and putting yourself last, a lot of things are going to change in your life. I hear things every single day that I do not agree with, but I respect that person and I love that person. I don't think they're wrong for thinking that way.
Yeah.
You know, we don't know who is right.
Yeah.
You know, only he knows, and he's
That's
the only
right.
one that's right. And one thing that we do know is love thy neighbor. Yeah. We're supposed to love each other, and I believe that the only thing that can fix this world is love.
It says love covers over a multitude of sins. You know, love changes things.
It does. It does. Changes everything.
Yep, for sure.
Everything. Well, guys, it's been a wonderful time with Kane Riggs. It won't be the last time you'll see him at all. Like I said, if there's anything you can do to help, please reach out and help. You can private message me as well if you want to help. I can get anything to him as well. And just thank you, bro. Thank you so much for being on the show today, man.
Enjoyed it.
Awesome. Well, I hope you guys have a great day, and thanks
Have
for
a good
watching.
one, everybody.